Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Newsgram. Today, we're going to shine a spotlight on your life by taking a look at your career, your education, and the key to it all, your ability to adapt. I'm not sure if there's a standardized definition of the term lifelong learning, but it usually refers to the wisdom gained outside the boundaries of traditional education. No one stays in school forever, but I've always thought it was important to have a natural curiosity, one that gives you a thirst for knowledge. And as you'll see today, it's not only important, it's going to be your superpower in this changing world that we live in.
We need to stay tough. We need to stay on our A game. We need to continue to grow and learn no matter what stage of life we're in.
That is Dr. Larry Straub, and he's not kidding. I just took a look at my Social Security details. Have you done this yet? You can log on to ssa.gov and have a look if you're curious about the kind of benefits you can expect to receive when you retire and when that's going to be. And I'll give you the bottom line here. It means you're going to get more money if you stay in the workforce longer, like age 70. And if that's a bitter pill to swallow, buckle up.
Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think people are going to need to work longer. This retirement at 62 and 65, when those dates were set up, they expected people to live maybe another 5 years or 7 years. They weren't set up for a society where people are averaging 80 plus years of age now, and that's continuing to increase. And frankly, I don't know that retirement is that good for us.
As hard as it is to hear that, he does make a good point. The Social Security Administration is willing to offer higher benefits if you stay in the workforce up to age 70. But beyond the financial benefits, working longer can also make you sharper. Dr. Larry Straub is the author of a groundbreaking book, and it's called The Sixth Evolution: Managing Lives and Careers Through Convulsive Times.
We need something to stimulate both socially, physically, and intellectually. And I think our brains, they've proven we have these little TIAs, these little mini strokes throughout our life. Well, when you have that intellectual resiliency and you're accountable for some results, I think your brain builds new neural networks around those little dead ends that get forced in your brain. So intellectual vitality, I think, is just crucial for all of us at all stages of our life.
Intellectual vitality. Write that down. It's a lot more than just a buzzword. It's another one of the many things he's giving us to think about in his book. We all know people who lose themselves when they retire. Boredom sets in. Loneliness. Many times they go back to work just to interact with other people. Some do it successfully, and there are always exceptions to every rule. But Dr. Straub has given us a very realistic look at the future, warts and all, and he also offers up the best way to position ourselves within our careers to survive and prosper.
In a lot of ways, it's not rocket science, and in many ways, it's kind of almost going back to the future. It's going back to some of the things that people, grandparents, parents have been telling us for decades. Things, for example, just strong and stable relationships. Adaptability, being able to kind of be ready for about anything, watching your finances, your physical and mental vitality, just trying to stay on top of your game as much as you can, and then just never stop learning. Always keep trying to keep position, and the world's changing pretty fast. There's a lot of things coming down the pike at us, so we just got to stay as on top of things as we possibly can.
Hopefully none of this is scaring you. It's just a wake-up call to like what you do. It matters. We're all in control of our lives, and we can make our own decisions. But that being said, ignoring some good advice isn't something I'd recommend, like staying positive.
As scary as it seems at times, as tough as it might seem at times, there's going to be tremendous opportunities out there for you. Anytime you got convulsive environments, it's a little scary, it's a little tenuous, but there's tremendous opportunities in it.
Trust me on this, if you go dark and get depressed about all this, you're going to miss the good stuff. Stay positive, and don't be afraid to rethink what you thought you knew about climbing the corporate ladder.
Don't think of, which I think has too often been the case, don't think of careers as a straight upward and forward. Think of it more like a rock climbing wall. Sometimes you're going to have to go sideways. Sometimes you're going to have to maybe even go down before you can go back up and find the pathway forward. And, we just have got this many times this mindset that everything's just up and forward, and I don't know that it's necessarily going to work out that way anymore.
Feeling a little better? I want to be sure, because we haven't even tackled the issue of convulsive socio and economic conditions. And he says they're going to be a constant part of our life. Now, I'm painting over this area with a broad brush because we're all so very different, but if you're feeling like the deck is stacked against you now, get used to it and learn to adapt.
Adaptability is a skill, just like anything else. You can learn to be adaptable. And so research a little bit, find out the ways that you can make yourself, your life, your career more adaptable. For instance, with me, I always knew what ended up happening could happen with our business and our industry. I knew that probably when it did happen, it was going to be at one of the worst points for me, which it was. I mean, I was about 59 when we sold our business. So that's pretty late to have to be restarting a career and things. Well, my adaptability came from, I got my doctorate. I kept my education going. I taught for 35 years in a part-time fashion. I didn't have to do that, but I knew that gave me an alternative pathway. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys for people, is to have those alternate pathways.
You got to have a side hustle. Build your personal network. Think about the things that you can do and the things that you like to do, because the days of just doing one thing are gone. There's one more thing you can do, and it's going to sound like a commercial, but it's really not. Go to LarryStraub.com, his website, and take a survey. It's called the Promethean Measurement Tool. It's designed to measure your unique ability to survive and prosper in cycles of convulsion and disruption. It's kind of a test, but you don't have to study for this one. Just be honest and try to have fun.
It's a really neat instrument. It'll just give you a really nice look at kind of how you are positioned. It'll just kind of let you know areas that you kind of need to beef up a little bit, maybe areas you need to continue to build and strengthen.
Professor Straub, Dr. Straub. He's worn a lot of hats in his careers, and he is definitely somebody you should know. He earned the doctorate he mentioned earlier from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, and he's also a graduate of the Owner-President's Management Program at Harvard Business School. I highly recommend this book, The Sixth Evolution, Managing Lives and Careers Through Convulsive Times, because this edition of Newsgram, as long as it was, just cracked the surface. Lots of great information in there, and the book, The Sixth Evolution, you spell with the number 6. We've added a link to it in the show notes to make it easier for you, and it's also available on traditional book sale sites like Amazon. And that will do it for this extended career edition of Newsgram from webtalkradio.com.